As a kid, I used to hate reading so much. So today I'll be testing 5 underrated methods that any of you can apply to try and make reading just a little more enjoyable. In fact, probably more enjoyable than you've ever expected. I'll also be combining these methods along the way as I try them out so that I get that full reading experience. Let's get started. Before indulging yourself into a reading session, bring along some foods that you think you would enjoy. I myself like to bring a couple pieces of chocolate with me to make reading itself more enjoyable and feel more like entertainment. Some fluids that I decided to try out were a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of hot chocolate. I find that drinking hot liquids really calm down my body and get me into a relaxing mood, which allows me to enjoy my reading sessions much more than drinking nothing at all. See, normally I drink coffee in the mornings with an intention to wake myself up, which is why I kind of stay away from coffee when I go to read. Although, if it's your preference, then go for it. Speaking of variety, different types of music can actually have a drastic effect on your moods and how you feel. Personally, I tried listening to some smooth jazz and a little bit of classical music to make me feel sophisticated and studious. At first, I would just play some ordinary music that came up on my Spotify, and well, that just didn't fit. Having that perfect genre of music made me feel like the most professional book reader ever. That's even a thing. Something that I'd considered was the relation of mood between the books you read and the music you listen to. I mostly read educational books, so pairing that with some relaxing jazz really enforced that mood. But maybe if you enjoy reading adventurous books, for example, maybe you want to put on like nature, forest background music or nature sounds to make your reading experience that much more enjoyable and immerse. In general, I think that relaxing tones that involve pianos, harps, flutes, saxophones, etc. could set a more calming and relaxing mood for when you sit down to read. Again, try variations of music genres to see what suits you the best. And number 3, environment. Choosing your environment is actually so important if you genuinely want to enjoy a reading session. I know some people who like reading at home, in the library, outside in nature, and believe it or not, some people actually enjoy reading with a loud environment. What I found best suited me was actually reading in bed. I think that when I'm in bed, there's less distractions around me. I'm able to have my chocolate, my tea, and most importantly, I can play my music through my speakers. It's just so delicious. Ferrero Rocher, you should sponsor me. I will gladly advertise your products. Okay, the next method I tried is kind of obvious, but it's actually very important, and it's to read books you genuinely enjoy. Think of it this way. We were always given books in school that 90% of the classroom did not even like. With the books I read today, I feel like I actually need to reread them to get a full understanding of the stories or whatever is teaching me. Like I said earlier, I enjoy a lot of educational books, whether it's about personal growth, finance, business, or sometimes history. Reading books you don't find interesting is almost as bad as going to watch a movie way out of your interest. So what I suggest doing is actually taking the time in a library or an online store to kind of browse some things you think you would actually be interested in. For an example, when I started getting into business last year, I wanted to find books that taught me about money, business, human behavior, and some other related genres. So then when I went into the bookstore, these books caught my attention probably more than any other book in my entire life. What's really important here is that I was willing to take time out of my day to put into reading these types of books. And while I would read these books, I was rarely having phone checks throughout my reading sessions. Which brings us to the last method I tried, throwing your phone away. Simply putting your phone in a different room or someplace that you cannot see it or access it makes reading that much more addicting than if you're constantly checking your phone and feeding your dopamine system. This is why having your phone in a close reach is a lose-lose in all aspects. It's an OtterBox. See, beforehand, every time I would be reading, I'd be checking my phone every like 5 pages. This constant pull towards media made reading seem way less fun than what it actually can be. So instead, I tried putting the phone far away enough where I couldn't reach it or even see it. That way, the only thing I really could do was enjoy reading. I think this method is actually super crucial because I wasn't thinking of what else I could be doing. And whenever I did have that urge to check my phone, I would realize that it was 10 feet away from me, which I would then ignore the urge because it took too much effort to get to it. And if you want to know what I think is worth putting your effort into, you can click up here. But without anything else further being said, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Oh my gosh.